Hello again, Tony here, back on my channel once more with another deck profile. With Legendary Duelist Season 2 only being a week away, and Blazing Vortex becoming available the week after that, I'd figured that I'd take this week, the calm before the storm, to do a deck profile on one of my personal favorites to come out of Legendary Duelist Magical Heroes, with that deck being Automatopia. Now for those unfamiliar with the deck, Automatapia refers to the amalgamation of the Gagaga, Gogogo, Dododo, and Zubaba archetypes that the main protagonist of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, Yuma, used throughout the series. It's a deck that incorporates the best out of the four archetypes to employ an aggressive Xyz strategy to put out multiple Xyz monsters for great variability and OTK potential. Or at least that was what I had intended. See, every deck builder, when building a deck, is faced with a choice to either build something that's thought-provoking, interactive, and interesting, or some straight degenerate shit. And the fact that I'm even telling you this means that I have unfortunately chosen the latter. Instead of employing Automatapia's Xyz-focused strategy to build a well-balanced and meta-focused archetype centering around Xyz control and beatdown, what I have for you today is a deck that employs a much more cancerous strategy of using Xyz monsters to indefinitely lock my opponent out of playing for the rest of the game. Something that, while I am not proud of, I will adjust as I get through the deck profile. Anyway, I've droned on enough. Without a further ado, let's get into the deck profile. Starting off our deck profile, we have our three Utopic Automatopia. Utopic Automatopia not only belong to the Utopic and Automatopia archetypes, also by card text belong to the Gagaga, Gogogo, Dododo, and Zubaba archetypes as well. And while it does come with a very useful effect to special summon two of the aforementioned archetypal monsters from the hand, what's the most important aspect about this card is the fact that it does belong to all these archetypes. See, one of the biggest limitations that come with building an Automatopia deck is that the Gagaga, Gogogo, Dododo, and Zubaba strategies very seldom interact with each other. While each of these archetypes have support that support their individual archetypal strategies, very rarely do they have cards that interact between two of these archetypes. As such, when building a deck that combines all four of them, it's very common for you to end up with cards of one archetype that have no way of benefiting from the other cards you may open from another archetype. Utopic Automatopia belongs to all four archetypes, thus however takes benefit out of all four of these archetypes to make the most out of all four archetypes' strategy, thus being the glue that binds all four archetypes together to build one cohesive deck. Moving on to the monsters that came out of our Legendary Duelist Magical Heroes, we have 3 Dododo Dwarf Gogogo Glove as well as 3 Zubaba Bancho Gagaga Cloak. Each of these monsters come with an effect to put itself onto the field, as well as an effect to put another monster onto the field on top of itself. Dododo Dwarf here can special summon one Gagaga or Zubaba monster from your hand while it's on the field, but while it's in the graveyard can summon itself back from the graveyard while you control another Gogogo or Dododo monster. Inversely, Zubaba Bancho here can special summon itself from the hand while you control another Gagaga or Zubaba monster, and while it's on the field can summon back one Dododo or Gogogo monster from your graveyard. Like Utopic Automatopia, Dododo Dwarf and Zubaba Bancho belong to a rare breed of cards among the 4 archetypes of the Automatopia that interact with more than one archetype in the Automatopia and belong to more than one archetype in the Automatopia, thus making them the most efficient when it comes to meshing the 4 archetypes together. Furthermore, due to the fact that both of these monsters come with an effect to extend directly from the hand as well as from the graveyard, they make effective tools in not only putting out the initial Xyz, but multiple Xyz after that as well. On top of those Automatopia monsters, we're also playing one Gagaga Child. Gagaga Child can special summon itself from the hand while you control another Gagaga monster, and can target one Gagaga monster on the field and copy its level. Due to the fact that we're playing a slightly higher than average Gagaga count with our Utopic Automatopia and our Zubaba Bancho here both being Gagaga monsters in some form or way, it's very easy to special summon Gagaga Child from your hand to extend off of that card itself. Furthermore, due to the fact that Gagaga Child can copy the level of any other Gagaga monster, it's pretty easy to always guarantee yourself an Xyz with this card compared to any of the other Automatopia support that we could play. Finally, rounding off the monsters, we're playing 2 Summoner Monk. Now you may notice in certain builds of Automatopia that there is a tendency to favor one of the 4 archetypes in the Automatopia quartet. I found personally, however, that Summoner Monk is a much more versatile option compared to them. If I was to play the Gogogo option, I'd be playing things such as Gogogo Giant, Gogogo Ghost, and Gogogo Golem. And since Gogogo Golem itself isn't really focused on spamming in general, and Giant only triggers off of normal summons, it's pretty hard to use that card to interact with things such as your Zubaba Bancho or your Utopic Automatopia. If I was to go on the Dododo route, however, I'd be focused more on a rank 6 toolbox than a rank 4 toolbox, something that this deck clearly isn't intending to do. The Zubaba archetype itself doesn't seem to have a real cohesive strategy, thus making them dead in the water, and while the Gagaga archetype itself has a lot of spammable options, they seem to be focused more on level changing than they do specifically a rank 4 toolbox, thus making them a less preferable option compared to just Summoner Monk itself. Since Summoner Monk can summon any level 4 monsters, it effectively can summon any of the Utopic or Automatopia monsters we just showcased. And due to the fact that you could do so with the amount of spells that we also play in the deck, it effectively allows you to grab any of the missing archetypal pieces you need to extend, effectively turning Summoner Monk into not only an extender, but a searcher for the correct Automatopia piece to start your combos. Moving on into the spells, we start off with our 3 Automatapia. Automatapia allows us to send one card from our hand to the graveyard to add upwards of 2 Zubaba, Gogogo, Dododo, or Gagaga monsters, as long as those searched monsters do not share the same category with another monster. Which means that you can only add upwards of 1 Zubaba, Gogogo, Gagaga, or Dododo monster per search with your Automatapia. Now, what happens with cards in our Automatapia deck, such as our Utopic Automatopia as well as our Gogogo Glove and Zubaba Bancho, which belong to more than one of those categories, is that it's ruled that you can count one of those cards as one of those categories and the other as the other category. Which means that yes, I can search 2 Dododo Dwarf, counting one of them as a Dododo category and one as a Gogogo category. And what that means realistically for our Automatapia is that Automatapia effectively allows us to search any of the combo pieces that we need to start our plays, effectively making Automatapia a starter for our deck. Now, since Automatapia is such a great starter for the deck, we're also playing 3 Automata Pickup to search into said Automatapia. Automata Pickup, when activated, allows us to search for any Automata card directly from our deck to the hand, which not only can search for Automatapia, but can also search for our Utopic Automatopia as well, effectively making Automata Pickup here a searcher for any starter in our deck. Another card that can be searched with our Automata Pickup is one of our 2 Automatopia. Automatopia is a field spell that states that whenever a Utopia monster is special summoned to our side of the field, we can put 1 high 5 the sky counter directly on top of our field spell, giving all our monsters 200 attack and defense for each counter on it. Furthermore, by removing 2 of these high 5 the sky counters from our field spell, we can directly special summon 1 Zubaba, Gogogo, Gagaga, or Dododo monster directly from our deck, effectively allowing us to turn our Xyz plays into more extenders, which can go into more Xyz plays from there. The reason why we're playing 2 specifically is the fact that this special summon effect is not a hard once per turn, which means that as long as you have ways of accessing more of these field spells, you have more ways of putting out more extenders directly from the deck through its effect. Now, if Automatopia hinted at anything, it's that we're clearly playing a Utopic-centric strategy. As such, we're also playing 3 Xyz Change Tactics to support this as well. Xyz Change Tactics allows us to draw 1 card by paying 500 life whenever we special summon 1 Utopia monster from our extra deck. And in an Xyz focused deck, it's pretty easy to at minimum put out 3 Utopia monsters to draw upwards of 3 cards. However, among the Utopia monsters, there's also a subset of Utopia monsters that only require another Utopia monster to be used as an Xyz material to summon them. Thus, by stacking those Utopia monsters on top of the existing ones that we've already summoned, we can actually draw upwards of 14 cards through this specific strategy. Now, why would we want to draw this many cards? Well, it's to draw a specific card in general. And that card would be either one of our 2 Rank Up Magic Astral Force or our 1 Rank Up Magic Limited Variance Force. Now, you may have seen Rank Up Magics appear previously in our deck profiles in something such as Phantom Knights, and the idea behind the Rank Up Magics fundamentally remains the same. Rank Up Magics allows us to target one of our Xyz monsters to summon out an Xyz monster of a higher rank, thus providing our deck a bit of Xyz variability. However, for the purpose of our specific strategy in this deck, we will be doing none of that. The real reason we're playing those Rank Up Magics is to actually summon out our Utopic Zexal. Now, you may have seen Utopia Zexal previously in a competitive deck such as Numeron Eldritch, and in a Utopia deck it fundamentally remains the same. Utopia Zexal's attack is determined by the number of Xyz materials it has times 1000. But more importantly though, by detaching one Xyz material from this card on my opponent's turn, I can prevent my opponent from activating cards or effects for the rest of that turn, effectively locking my opponent out of playing for that turn. Now, in a deck like Numeron Eldritch, the way you would summon this card would be by overlaying 3 numbers of the same rank, i.e. your Numeron monsters. However, a lot of people have seemed to forget that this card also has an alternative summoning condition. By discarding one rank of magic, you could directly summon Utopic Zexal on top of any Utopia monster. And given the fact that we have a bunch of Utopia monsters that can easily stack on top of themselves, it's very easy to summon out Utopic Zexal with upwards of 4 to 5 materials for a 5000 attack Utopia Zexal. And it's with that play that we define the core of our Automatapia strategy. By using our Automatapia monsters, we can summon out multiple Utopia monsters, which through the Utopia rank up strategy allows us to put more Utopias on top of them. This, combined with our Xyz exchange tactics, we can draw multiple cards, upwards of 14, which will potentially allow us to draw into one or more of our rank up magics. From there, we can convert these Utopias and rank up magics into multiple Utopia Zexals, which not only come in at high attack, but come with the ability to lock our opponent out of the game, effectively buying us time to then OTK them on the following turn with our high attack Zexals. Now obviously this strategy may come off as a bit inconsistent, especially given the fact that we're only playing 3 rank up magics. But fortunately, we're also playing 2 extra Foolish Burial on top of that to increase our chances of accessing said rank up magic. Not only can Extra Foolish Burial send something like a Fredget the Barren Blossom, which allows us to cycle 1 additional card from our deck, but it also can allow us to dump a number 71 Rebarian Shark, which when sent to the graveyard, allows us to stack 1 rank up magic to the top of our deck. This, combined with something like a Xyz Change Tactics or any of the other draw cards you play, is just an effective way to then draw into said rank up magic to directly go into our Zexal play. And while I can obviously play just rank up magics instead of playing the Extra Foolish Burial, I do like the utility that Extra Foolish Burial gives, especially when I don't need to access a rank up magic. Moving on from there, we're playing 1 Xyz Override. Xyz Override is a field spell that allows me of, instead of detaching a material to activate one of my Xyz monster's effect, banish 1 card face down from my hand instead. Now in most Xyz decks, this is just a gimmicky way of not detaching a material. However, in a deck that specializes in exclusively summoning out Utopic Zexal, it's actually a way of locking my opponent out of playing the game indefinitely. Since Utopic Zexal can detach 1 material from itself to prevent my opponent from activating cards or effects on their turn, and Xyz Override instead allows me to banish 1 card from my hand face down instead, it means that instead of being limited by the number of materials that Utopic Zexal has to lock my opponent out with, I can lock my opponent out equivalent to the number of cards I have in my hand. And since I will always be able to get a normal draw per turn, it means that I will always be able to banish a card face down to activate Utopic Zexal's effect, thus meaning that I can indefinitely lock my opponent out of playing for the entire duel. Now with that combo explained, it's pretty easy to see what the degenerate strategy here will be. First, the goal is to summon out multiple Zexals. From there I can activate Xyz Override, and the combination of Xyz Override and Zexal will proceed to lock my opponent out of playing any cards for the rest of the game. Then, this allows me to slowly accumulate resources through the effects of my other cards to eventually build up enough of a board to OTK my opponent before my opponent may even be able to play any card at all. With that being said, the cards going forward will all be cards that either focus on summoning out that Zexal as soon as possible, or cards that will focus on getting into the combo pieces necessary to lock our opponent out as smoothly as possible. Starting off, we're playing 3 Generation Force, which while I control a Xyz monster, allows me to search for any Xyz archetypal card, which not only allows me to search for my Xyz Override, but also my Xyz Change Tactics as well. We're playing 2 Memories of Hope, which allows us to draw a card for each differently named numbers in our field, which, given the fact that we can summon out a bunch of different Utopia monsters, allows us to draw a number of cards. We're playing the 1 Double or Nothing, since we are also playing the Utopia Double package. We're playing the 1 Upstart Goblin as another draw, the Reinforcement of the Army to either search into our Utopic Automatopia or our Gagaga Bancho, the 1 Terraforming to search into either our Xyz Override or our Automatopia, as well as 2 Gagaga Revenge as another means of extension. Moving on into the extra deck, we're obviously playing 3 number 39 Utopia. On top of that, we're also playing 2 number C39 Utopia Ray. Utopia Ray can automatically be stacked on top of any number 39 Utopia, which combined with Exceed's change tactics nets us an additional draw. Likewise, we're also playing 1 number S39 Utopia Prime, which also can be stacked on top of any number 39 Utopia. The reason why we're only playing 2 C39 and 1 Prime is the fact that with something like Memories of Hope, each of these cards counts as a different number monster, which allows us in certain cases to get different draws as long as we put a C39 and an S39 on the field separately. From there, we're playing the 1 Utopia the Lightning, which can be stacked on top of any rank 4 Utopia monster, not only allowing us to put up a big beater, but get an additional draw off of Exceed's change tactics. The 1 Utopia Double, which can stack a Utopia on top of it, not only netting an additional draw, but then allowing us to abuse the rest of our Utopia cards. The 1 Dugaris at times as another means of drawing a few cards, the 1 Zeus as a means of putting up Exceed's monsters after they battled, 2 Utopic Zexal as our main combo maker of the deck, the 1 Rebarian Shark and Frigid Baron Blossom for our Foolish Barrel of Goods play, as well as the 1 Gravity Controller. Now the Gravity Controller is in the deck because in certain situations you may want to put the materials of one of your Utopias in the grave. Gravity Control in certain situations is an easy way to do that by sending the entire Utopia monster to the graveyard to then be used with other cards. Now we once again reach the combo proponent of our deck profile, and this combo proponent is going to be very important. Given the RNG nature of these specific combos, I can understand that a lot of people might find this deck a little gimmicky. Thus, what I'm going to do likewise and always is I'm going to draw a test hand and build my Utopic Zexal board from there. And if you guys like to see more combos of me pretty much doing the same degenerate thing, put it in the comments down below and I might make a combo extender video on it in the future. Anyway, the deck is set up, let us begin. Our first test hand will consist of 1 Zubaba Bancho, 1 Automatopia, 1 Automatopia, 1 Dododo Gogogo Glove, and 1 Generation Force. Okay, in this specific hand, it's pretty easy to see that we've opened none of the end pieces for our specific board, which means we will have to somehow find our way into them. Luckily, we've opened a lot of extenders under the sun, and that works out for us. I'm going to start by activating the field spell before then normal summoning my Gogogo Glove. I'm going to activate Gogogo Glove's effect to special summon out the Utopic Automatapia from my hand. From there, since I control a Zubaba or Gagaga monster, I can special summon the Baba Bancho directly from my hand. From there, I'm going to overlay the Bancho and the Gogogo Glove to summon out my Utopia Double. Now, since I control an Exceed's monster now, I can activate the Generation Force, activating it to search into my Exceed's change tactics. From there, I'm then going to activate the effect of my Utopia Double, detaching the Gogogo Glove from my monster to the graveyard to search for my Double or Nothing. And in doing so, I'm then going to summon out a number 39 Utopia on top. Now, since I summon a Utopia monster from my X deck, I now pay 500 with my Exceed's chain tactics to draw 1 card. Since I'm now drawing a card that I can also thin my deck with, I'm going to activate the Automatapia, discarding the Double or Nothing to add 2 more Automata monsters from my hand. I'm going to add a Dododo Glove and another Zubaba Bancho. Of course, from there we can then once again stack another Utopia monster on top of our 39, paying another 500 with our Exceed's change tactics to draw another card. But the fun doesn't stop there, because then we're going to stack another Utopia on top of that, paying another 500 to draw another card from our hand. Now, since we also have this Dododo Glove in our graveyard, we can activate it since we control a Dododo monster to summon it back to the field. But that's not all. We can then activate Automatopia's effect as well to special summon 2 of those Automatopia monsters from our hand, summoning both of the monsters we search off of a para directly to our field. From there, we're going to overlay these 2 monsters to once again summon out another number 39 Utopia, paying another 500 to draw another card to our hand. Since this card is another deck thinner, we're going to activate the Automata pickup to search for another Automatopia to our hand. And since we also have our Rhoda here, let's activate the Rhoda as well to grab another Zubaba Bancho to our hand as well. Once again, you know where this is going. We're going to then once again activate this to summon out another number C39, paying another 500 to draw another card in the hand. And just like that, we now see our rank up magic. Obviously, however, the fun doesn't stop there. See, for what I can do now from here is I can now special summon out the Gagaga Child and then use the Gagaga Child's effect to copy Bancho's level to become level 4. I'm going to overlay the glove and the Bancho now to summon out another number 39 Utopia. And once again, paying another 500, I'm going to draw another card. From there, I'm then going to stack a number S39 and then pay another 500 to draw another card. Now, in this unique specific case, I can activate this Memories of Hope immediately, but I'm not just going to do that. See, this entire game, I've accumulated a bunch of High 5 the Sky counters, of which I will now consume 2 to summon out another Dododo glove directly from my deck. From there, I'm going to overlay the Dododo glove and the Zubaba Bancho now instead to summon out a Dugaris the Timeless, detaching both materials from my Dugaris the Timeless to draw 2 more cards before discarding 1 card from my hand. Now, since I have 4 differently named numbers on the field, I'm going to activate the Memories of Hope now to draw 4 more cards to our hand, with one of them now being that Xyz Override. But of course, the fun just doesn't want to stop there. From there, I'm then going to activate the 1 Upstart to draw another card, opening a Generation Force. And then, from there, I'm now finally going to place the Automatapia with the Xyz Override, before then discarding the Rank Up Magic from my hand to turn one of my Utopia monsters into an S39, of which I will then pass my turn to my opponent with. Now let's do our usual roll count. Not only do we have a 4000 attack Zexal backed up by an Xyz Override, which means that it will never go down an attack and my opponent will never be able to play the game again, we end up with 7 cards in our hand, a Utopia the Lightning that can beat over pretty much any monster my opponent decides to set, a Utopia Prime as well, Prime for the game, as well as 2 combo extenders on our hand to build any other Xyz going forward. This is effectively an OTK on the following turn, whether my opponent likes it or not. Moving on to our second test hand, we have 1 Dododo Glove, 1 Gagaga Child, 1 Xyz Override, 1 Otomatopia, and 1 Zubaba Bancho. Okay, so this is one of those hands where we unfortunately did not open the Xyz Change Tactics, which means that our ability to dig into our deck might be a little limited. Despite that, however, that doesn't mean that we can't build a board. Once again, I'm going to start by normal summoning the Dododo Glove to special summon out the Automatopia, and then special summon the Baba Bancho to the field. From there, I'm then going to special summon the Gagaga Child to the field before then activating the Gagaga Child effect to copy the level of that monster. From there, I'm going to overlay the Gogogo Glove and the Gagaga Child to summon out everyone's favorite, Dugaris the Timeless. I'm going to activate Dugaris the Timeless effect, detaching 2 materials from this card to draw 2 more cards to my hand. And from there, sending 1 card from my hand to the graveyard. Let's say I'm going to send this Terraforming. From there, I'm then going to activate the effect of my Dododo Glove in my graveyard to special summon it back to the field, before then overlaying the Automatopia and the Gogogo Glove to summon out my Utopia Double. From there, I'm going to activate Utopia Double's effect, detaching the Gogogo Glove from it to then search for a double or nothing to my deck before summoning out a Utopia to my monster zone. Where are you, double or nothing? From there, I'm going to activate Zubaba Bancho's other effect to bring back the Gogogo Glove in my graveyard before overlaying these 2 to then summon out another Utopia monster, let's say in this case being a number 39 Utopia, before then using that Utopia monster to slap on another Utopia monster. Now, unfortunately in this case, we did not see a way into our rank up magic, but that is actually a-okay. See, like the Numeron deck, we can still hard summon Utopia Zexal. What we're going to do is we're going to overlay all 3 of these Utopia monsters, being differently named numbers, to once again summon out our Utopia Zexal to the field. And then from there, we're going to activate the Xyz Override. And then we pass our turn to our opponent. Now, this board obviously is much weaker than the last board. While we still did end up with the Utopia Zexal play, we definitely didn't end up with the amount of damage that the last board could avail us. However, what's important to note here is that since we still have the ability to indefinitely lock our opponent out of the game, we still have the potential to draw into more combo pieces going forward. Not only can I banish this double or nothing on my opponent's turn to lock my opponent out of playing the game, I still have a Gagaga Revenge in my graveyard, which can bring back the Bancho, with the Bancho being able to bring back the Automatopia, which then allows me to summon back the Dododo Glove as well, effectively allowing me to build an OTK board straight out of this 1 card, regardless of what I draw on the following turn. And that's going to do it for our Automatapia deck profile. I'm not gonna lie, not proud of this one. This isn't quite, I think, the deck that people really want to see, but it is a way for me to showcase how flexible Automatapia can be when it comes to building a Xyz deck. However, if any of you were expecting and hoping for a purely more Xyz focused deck, let me make it clear that this deck can easily be a Xyz spam deck all on its own. That second combo I showcased definitely can be converted instead of into 3 monsters into a Zexal, into just 3 Disruption Xyz for a very powerful board. And I think in the right hands and the right player, this deck can do some pretty cool things. Regardless, my name is Tony Yang. This has been possibly the worst deck profile I've ever done, and I hope to never do it again. But I hope one of you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time.